Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to open the regular meeting of the Board of Directors for January 29th. And roll call, please.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Here.
Bentley?
Here.
Here. Hiram? Hildreth?
Here.
Lair?
Here.
Sheldon?
Here.
Walker?
Here.
Gang? And Method.
Here.
Members are entitled to speak during the designated open forum portion of this meeting, whether attending in person or via Zoom. Each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. If speaking on behalf of another member, additional instructions provided on the forum slips must be followed. All speakers must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning their comments. Please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating in this meeting, including during the open forum, each attendee agrees to and releases the Rossmore Walnut Creek from all liability for their voice and/or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purpose without compensation. Thank you.
Before we proceed, I just want to make a quick note that we will be addressing item 11A following item 4 today on the agenda. So are there any changes to the minutes from our December 4th meeting? Go ahead. Okay, thank you. We'll then say they're approved. And I wondered if Matt... Oh. Welcome, Matt. Matt is our city council representative to Rossmore, and we're very glad you're here, Matt. Thank you.
Good morning, board members. Nice to see all of you. I'm Matt Francois. I have the privilege of serving you on the Walnut Creek City Council. This year, I am the mayor pro tem. One heartbeat away, as I like to say. The last time I served as your liaison was in 2021, so we were doing things a lot differently then, and I'm glad that we're all here in person. It's nice to see all of you. We've been busy at the City of Walnut Creek, as I know you've been busy here with a lot of construction and other projects. We serve, each council member takes a turn at the downtown Walnut Creek Farmers Market. It's an opportunity to connect with the public and hear from people that might not be able to make it to a 7 p.m. meeting on a Tuesday night at City Hall. And so we have a stack of Rossmore newspapers that we read while we're manning the booth. People have tried to take it from me, and I said, no, sorry, that's mine. But so as you may recall, the council, if 5 members. Our mayor this year is Kevin Wilk. Kevin's been on the council since 2016, so we have a good group of pretty seasoned veteran council members. Our newest member is Craig DeVinny, who was elected in 2024, and then rounding out the crew is Cindy Silva and Cindy Darling. So good group of people, and more importantly, a great staff with a city manager, Dan Buckshire. And that's why I wanted to bring you some updates here, is we do have some new staff members. We have a new police chief, Ryan Hibbs. Ryan's name would be familiar to you because he was a captain. So he served under former chief Jamie Knox, who retired at the end of last year. Ryan was promoted to the top job and will be focused on the same things that the chief was focused on and the council is focused on, which is crime prevention and enforcement. We've got some statistics, and overall, it's good news that crime overall in all categories is down 20% last year, 2025, compared to 2024. Of course, we have to remain eternally vigilant. There's still crime, and it's a concern to us. And so we've focused a good portion of the Measure O dollars, that sales tax measure that passed in 2022, towards 5 dedicated police officers in the downtown area. We are staffing levels, we're at about 78 of 85 positions. And we've got, it's constantly changing with people retiring. people in the academy. We have 4 officers that are lateral officers that are being recruited now. So that Chief Knox made a real concerted effort on recruitment. And I think that's paying off in that we're almost nearly all positions are filled, and we'll continue to work on that until they're completely filled. I wanted to mention that there will be a meet and greet with new Chief Hibbs, and it'll be at the Lesher Center on February 4th at 5:30. And it's very informal, just an opportunity for people to come and get to know the new chief and to ask any questions and raise any concerns that they might have. So that's February 4th, 5:30 at the Lesher Center. And while I'm on that topic, the city is doing repairs to the North Locust Street garage. That's the garage that's right next door to the Lesher Center. Changing curbs and striping and things like that. And we'll be doing that work until about the end of February. So please do expect delays if you're going to a show at the Lesher Center or if you're going to the meet and greet with Chief Hibbs. We'll try to keep them to a minimum, but it's necessary work that we have to get done before the end of February. Let's see. We also have a new Arts and Rec Director, Chris Farrow, and Chris joins us from the city of Stockton. She has a really impressive resume of not only working on recreation programs, which of course is a huge part of the city's offerings, but also has background with theater and artistic productions, which is also important to us given the Lesher Center and the Bedford Gallery. So we're really pleased to have her there, and we're going to be keeping her busy this year because, as you know, one of our big projects, which is about to break ground, already sort of broken ground, but the big groundbreaking will take place on February 18th for the new community center and aquatic complex at Heather Farm Park. And so that falls under Rich Payne, who's our Public Works Director, and Chris Farrow, the Arts and Rec Director, will work in tandem. She wants to make sure that the new building has the spaces that she can program with all of her programs. And on that point, I wanted to, we were able to award a contract to the contractor Lathrop Construction last November. And the financing that the city is using will be lease revenue bonds, and they'll be paid back through the Measure O sales tax dollars. I'm pleased to report that the city got the highest credit rating that you can get, and as a result, will be paying the lowest interest, among the lowest interest rates available. So that's how it'll be financed, and it won't extend beyond the life of Measure O. So it's an 8-year lease bond, revenue bond production, and that it will not be using all the funds of Measure O either, because we had put millions of dollars into a facilities reserve, and we're drawing on that money plus the Measure O money. On the economic development front, I forgot to tell you that Council has 5 priorities, so I'm trying to give you brief updates on each of the categories of priorities, and those are public safety, parks and recreation facilities, economic development, environmental sustainability, and the general plan update. As a land use lawyer, I think the general plan update is mostly of interest to me, so I might skip over that one, but I'll try to give you an update on all the other ones. For economic and community development, I'm pleased that the council approved an outdoor dining incentive program. You'll recall during COVID, we had the temporary pods downtown. They were necessary for the restaurants to be able to keep their businesses going and to remain open during the pandemic. Once the emergency ended and those temporary programs went away, it was a hugely popular program. People loved the outdoor dining, and so we wanted to make sure that that came back, but also that it was done in a safe way and that it also looked aesthetically pleasing and complemented the downtown. So we came up with a new program for the pods. They're not insignificant in terms of the cost, given the safety measures and the aesthetics design that we're going for. They can run anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 to create one of those structures. Plus, the restaurant owner has to pay the city lease the parking spaces that they're taking up by using that space. So the the council wanted to incentivize more outdoor dining and provided a grant funding program of up to $100,000. Each restaurant could qualify for no more than $10,000. So far, we've had 6 restaurants take us up on it, and the program runs until the end of March, and more restaurants are in the pipeline. So we're encouraged to see that level of activity, and it seems to be having the desired result. We have some other development projects happening in the city, particularly Civic Crossing, which is a 97-unit, all affordable housing project going in at Civic and Ignacio Valley Road. That's under construction right now. There's a new housing project in the Shadelands Business Park known as the Mitchell Townhomes. It'll be 400 plus townhome style units. 20% of those units will be required to be affordable. So sort of missing middle housing type that the state has encouraged us to try to produce, and so that project will help us meet that goal. In Broadway Plaza, Restoration Hardware has signed a lease with Mace Rich, the owner of the Broadway Plaza shopping mall, to take over the Neiman Marcus space. And it's a few years off still, but the result I think will be pretty spectacular. They've done this in other cities, including in Palo Alto. It's a new format where they have dining plus shopping opportunities. They'll be taking down that existing building, which we worked so hard on and took so long for, and doing their own new beautiful building in its place. So estimated 2028 opening for that. I'm sure you know that Original Joe's opened and is extremely popular, and it's very difficult to get a reservation there. So I think maybe once the summer comes and they're able to use their outdoor dining patios, make it a little easier. And then I just did want to confirm that I talked to staff, and the Taco Bell is moving forward in the Rossmore Shopping Center. They pulled building permits and as of last week, I think. So we should be seeing some activity in that part of the center for those Taco Bell fans. And then just finally, as you may know, the city adopted a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. And we did that last fall, but we were also sensitive to the fact that residents and contractors will need time to buy new equipment and absorb the cost of that. So it takes effect April 1st. We've been trying to push out the information on that in our nutshell. And also the Downtown Ace had an electric equipment demonstration day on January 20th, letting people know about the offerings that they have. Let's see. Talked about the North Locust Street Garage. So I'll just end with Walnut Creek strong note on MLK Day. The council was able to honor Dr. King's call to service by volunteering at the Trinity Center and preparing and serving dinner to residents of the Winter Nights Shelter Program. That is my update, and I'd be happy to answer any question or receive any feedback from the board and share that with the council.
First, Matt, thank you for an excellent report. That was great, covering all those topics. Does anybody have any questions for Matt? Ted?
I don't know why you laugh when I put up my hand, but so I think I was here when you were here the first time. And we seem to be talking always that we're building up to the 85 on the police, but I don't think we've ever hit it. What is the plan to get to the 85 and stay there? You know, maybe have 85 with 4 possibly coming in because of attrition.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and that is how things happened historically. Is it wasn't just 85 because you have people retiring, people coming into the system, and so the target was something more like 89. I'm happy to talk to the chief about that. It's been difficult, I can say, in the last 5 to 10 years to recruit in this space for law enforcement. I think that we have a great community. People like working in Walnut Creek generally, and they like working for the department. So, and we try to compensate our officers fairly, a little bit above fairly, so that they stay. and they, make it a career in Walnut Creek and don't want to leave and go somewhere else, and that they get promoted through the system. I think it is a fair point, Ted, that, just shooting for 85, maybe we need to set our sights a little higher to make sure we stay at 85.
And one follow-up, excuse me. First of all, I want to commend the police department for bringing down, I know that years back there's been issues in Walnut Creek in a lot of cities, but to be able to bring the crime rate down is amazing, and I really appreciate that. But it seems like we are neglecting people behaving badly. Just I'm not talking crime, but even in our intersection right out here where the light is at, and I've noticed that the intersection at Olympic is the same way. I see that when I got my license, yellow meant it's going to turn green and you got to slow down and stop. And now it seems like yellow means go faster. And many people, it's your turn at the light, but you have to wait for a car to get out of the intersection before you can go because they're red in there, and I don't know if there's any focus on that or not, but I was just, wondering if there's any.
Traffic enforcement is absolutely a focus of the city, and that gets to the staffing levels. And as we get more closer to the 85, we can dedicate more officers, usually on motorcycle units, to do that type of work. There's also the possibility of having automated camera readers. We need special permission from the state in order to do that and go through a process. We haven't taken that step quite yet. We're still doing the enforcement route. Where we're hearing it at the council level more, and I do hear that comment at the farmers market, but at council meetings on e-bikes and the young people that are not necessarily 16 that are on a class 2 or class 3 e-bike, not wearing a helmet in the middle of the street where they shouldn't be. And we're very concerned about that. And we've been making a concerted effort on e-bike safety. The state is poised to regulate in that area. They just had a big study done about kind of what requirements they'll impose for which type of e-bikes. But yeah, absolutely. Traffic control and safety has got to be paramount. And I think there was a shift with the pandemic and people driving a little more reckless.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Matt? Okay, thank you very much. We're glad to have you here. We look forward to hearing from you each month.
Thank you. I look forward to being here.
All right, now we're going to move on to, like I said, we're going to adjust the agenda, and we're going to go on to 11A. And Jeff, could you give us the overview?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. This morning we have Ken Johnson with Arthur J. Gallagher, our broker for insurance, to give a overview of the 2026 placement. We have been on a little bit of an insurance tour this last week, providing a presentation to the President's Forum and the Finance Committee. So today we'll just be giving a brief overview to kind of capture and give you some background on the 26 placement. Remember, in 26 we're doing a extension of existing policies, and then we will be doing renewal on 6/1, which is a new concept. And Ken will be touching on that briefly. But this is a good news story as rates continue to come down and off the peak that we saw over the last several years. So, Ken, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Good morning, Board. It's always, as I always say, it is always a privilege for Gallagher to get to be able to speak to Ross Moore and share time with you, because Ross Moore is a very important account for Gallagher. As Jeff said, we've covered a lot of this in other board meetings this week, so we'll go through it rather efficiently. As he also said, one of the big goals for the January 1 renewal for 2026 was to get an extension off that very, very busy date and move it to 6/1, which is a preferred date for an account that has catastrophic exposure like wildfire, whether it's wind or wildfire. if you can get away from the January 1 date, which is following hurricane season and wildfire season, and get in front of it, that's a big deal. And, it's a big testament to Jeff's team, because you have to come up with all the renewal information. And as I said previously in another meeting, we're renewing 89, 90 insurance policies that have to be issued, checked, approved, and gotten over to Rossmore, as well as I think we're north of 12,500 certificates of insurance and all the underwriting that goes into it. A lot of questions back and forth. So they just did a phenomenal job to get off that date, and now we're doing it again for 6/1. So the results of that extension was that the retained risk program, which is in place for 5 years, was just extended out to 6/1 with no increase in cost. And for the tower, the property tower, the rate reduction was an 11.75% number with a little bump in valuation of 6.75, which resulted in an overall premium reduction of 5%. There's a slide in there in your board deck of the property tower. You can see in the middle there, that's what's known as a quota share layered property insurance placement, because there's many insurance companies on those layers. That was the property renewal was very successful. As far as your other lines of insurance, they extended out with no increase in rate. So that was great. You have a solid relationship with Great American Insurance Company, and you maintained your $50 million of limit across all liability lines. Another bright spot is, and it's something that really the team at Rossmore should be commended on, is your workers' compensation. With regards to other master plan communities in the state of California, Rossmore leads the band. I mean, you have an experience modification factor of 0.85, which is the best in the state of California for an entity of your peers. So the insurance company who had been on it for a long period of time, Everest Insurance Company, sold their book of business to AIG. They're getting out of California workers' compensation. So we went to market, and everybody wanted to write it. Travelers came after it, the Hartford, CNA. CNA came in, met with Jeff and Arnold, and they gave Rossmore the claims team that they wanted and the loss control team that they wanted to work with Gallagher's team. And it was just a reduction in price as well. So it was a big win, mostly due to the safety that you guys have. Moving on, running out of clicker. Moving on is the alternative risk transfer, which is part of the discussion that's going on with the property task force now for fire mitigation. And we started this 3 years ago. Currently, just to recap, the alternative risk transfer program is a 5-year policy, the premium of which is $3,750,000 on an annual basis. Of that, $3,187,500 goes into your experience account. That's returnable in the event that you don't have any losses, or if there are losses, they just subtract from that amount. The margin insurance, the cost for the actual insurance is $562,500. And that provides a limit of $5 million per year, $10 million in aggregate, $30 million over the life of the policy. And Rossmore has just been wildly successful with this. You have $10,304,000 in the bank. You should give yourself a round of applause on that one. It's a fantastic result.
Ken, a quick question there. What's the accessibility to that $10 million? Is there a timing or restrictions?
The timing is now for you to start making ideas about what you want to do with it. Great question. And the property task force is all over that. I think the next slide, that's some detail on it, and you have that slide. But if we could go to the next one. You know what? I took that out of this deck, but basically, Dwight, what we just had a meeting with the property task force last week, and we had Gallagher London on there and a bunch of different Gallagher entities, and the discussion was, what do other companies that have this type of a program in place, what do they do with the funds? Well, I don't want to get too technical here, but the insurance world views Rossmore as having a $5 million deductible. Because those carriers on the primary layer up there, Beasley, AIG, Zurich Insurance Company, AWAC, they go, nobody's touching our program until that $5 million with that alternative risk deal is pierced. And so, I mean, Rossmore looks at it and they go, we have a $250,000 deductible. So when you're looking at that, some entities will say, well, I need to continue on having that buffer of $5 million. So maybe I'll take some of those funds and rehang it and move it out, continue it out 5 years. That's one alternative. Because remember, the price of property insurance is significantly lower now than it was when we bought that thing as a fail-safe, right? Because we didn't know if the rates were going to keep going, because it locked in the rates for 5 years. So you could use the funds to do that. You could say, hey, instead of putting that $3.1 million into my experience account, I'll only put $1 million in, and I'll take $2 million and use it for other options, right? Or fire mitigation. Or you could just say, I want to take the money out. So all of those are examples of what the property task force is evaluating, looking at all the different alternatives.
Thank you.
And Jeff wanted me to give you some guidance as to what to expect with this 6/1 renewal. Property, I would say that property, and these are conservative numbers. Property shared layer programs right now, we work closely, Zach Phillips and our team works closely with Jeff and his team to come up with the actual expected budget for the renewal. But we would be somewhere between a 15% reduction and flat. General liability to anywhere from, and these are for your peers across the United States. General liability anywhere from 2 to 10%. Auto liability 8 to 15 increases. The liability market is not friendly because of the private equity funding of litigation, and that continues on. But again, none of these liability lines compare to the cost of the property insurance, and so this is a good slide. This isn't a negative. I mean, a 10% increase to your liability is it's not the end of the world. Although we hope to keep them flat. Again, these are conservative numbers to budget by. We hope to beat them. So that's that. Any questions for the board?
And maybe this is a question for Jeff, but given all of this, are we within our budget for insurance? Because I haven't seen a comparison to budget.
We are within budget. The renewal has come in, as Ken mentioned, at least 5% under what was budgeted for the extension period. And then we will be working on the 6/1 annual renewal of all of the lines over the next several months. So we don't have those secured yet, but we anticipate, as Ken showed, another reduction in the overall premium. So within what was budgeted, both within RWC and all of the mutual budgets, we are looking really good.
And where are we at this point in terms of coverage?
So we're at the 1.3 billion with our total insured value around 2.8, almost 2.9. So we're still in the 40% kind of range. Fortunately, that's still something that's not going to change in terms of our ability to secure our residents to secure mortgage backed by Fannie or Freddie. Capacity and overall cost still don't make sense. But one of the things we will be doing is updating all of the modeling, so we'll have fresh modeling to present to the task force and to the committees in regards to what our probable loss may be under different scenarios to ensure that we're still providing really robust coverage for the valley.
Thank you. I just want to add one comment. The $10 million, it sounds like it's available to us, and it is, but the predominant payer of those funds are the mutual. So that is not something that is it's going to be easily distributed nor accessed without a lot of discussion.
Absolutely. That's one of the primary things that will be discussed starting at the task force, moving on to the President's Forum, and ultimately to the mutual boards, because it is all of the mutuals, or the majority of the mutuals, participate in that program. So they'll have to decide kind of collectively on how those funds are utilized.
Any other questions for Ken or Jeff? Okay, thanks very much, Ken.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we'll move to the financial status report. Todd? What's that?
Good morning, board. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, as you can probably see, it's a really thin report today. We unfortunately had we're trying to get preliminary year-end numbers done. And the reality is we have a lot of risk when people are out with sick and some family emergencies. And the fact of the matter is we had Amanda, who you all know, was out for over a week. And it just, fortunately, we don't have the horsepower to get what needed to get done. So we are on track to hopefully have everything published and out to the board end of day tomorrow. But unfortunately, this year end, we're closing two sets, so we're closing both November and December. And when I don't have both Amanda and Kat, who is the other senior accountant on RWC and RPM, was also out and dealing with a family emergency as well. So fortunately, it's just
Okay, so,
reality.
so we've been told we're going to get the reports Friday?
Yeah, so we're on schedule to publish them tomorrow, and I will get an email out to everyone. Okay?
Any questions for Todd? Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the general manager's report. Jeff?
I wanted to this morning and in the report just go over a little bit of the work plan for 2026 and all of the things that are in the works right now that is taking our focus. Certainly one of the main projects, the capital projects that is underway, and they are working kind of on the underground systems right now, is the pickleball project near the event center. That was approved, and we have our general contractor, Huff Construction, out working. We had a little bit of a delay in the beginning on some supply chain issues, but they are now in full swing, and everything is starting to move on that. We should see some activity on things starting to rise above ground here in the coming months. So we definitely look forward to that major project. The opening of the Golden Pear is scheduled for this spring, and that is an exciting new venture in Rossmore. We are certainly looking forward to the restaurant opening. Right now, the operator is working on tenant improvements, and I'll go into that in a little bit later on in the agenda. But we are working closely with them to achieve all of the improvements as well as towards the ABC permit, the alcohol and beverage control permit, and the health permit. The good news, I think for many, is the operator went through a process to do interviews with many of the existing staff that provided service under Creekside Grill, and brought on a number of those employees. So when it opens, the community will see many familiar faces over there. Please take a look at the front page article for updates on that opening. And then there was also a nice mention that residents, if you are interested in finding out a little bit more about the pair and the types of service and food, he is offering a 20% discount for Rossmore residents at any of his other establishments. So please look at that in the Rossmore News for further information. We are doing a significant amount of capital planning, and we'll be talking about this a little bit later on in the agenda as well, but looking at some master planning for the Dollar Clubhouse, the Gateway Complex, and the lawn bowling greens up at Hillside. Those will be significant projects that we want to get started with some studies, so look forward to that. We are putting a focus on our transit service. We did a presentation to the Planning Committee last month, and we'll continue that effort. There'll be some discussion again about that under the capital projects list here. So we look forward to some new and exciting ways to provide transit service. Last year, we had a significant project with our management agreement where we provide property management services to 22 of the mutuals here in Rossmore. This was a huge lift in working with the mutual presidents and a committee on the overall level of service that RWC provides through RPM, our Rossmore Property Management, to the mutuals. So we will be implementing this new agreement this year, and as part of that, we have been working with the board on how we can meet all of our obligations under the management agreement in terms of providing service. So we will be doing some changes to our overall organization within RPM and accounting to help bolster our ability to provide those services. You certainly will be hearing more about that in the coming months. You've heard a ton about our NetSuite implementation, and that has been a multi-year effort to implement this new system. This year, we'll start to be able to utilize that system and utilize the tools available within that, still implementing additional programs, software systems to enhance our work order systems. Over onto the resident services side, we will be implementing new services, our new software as well. So continuing to upgrade our overall infrastructure related to software systems. We just heard a presentation from Ken Johnson regarding insurance. We'll be really focusing on that 6/1 renewal and looking at ways we can stabilize our long-term investment in insurance to try and, while the market is looking good right now, try and prepare for and stabilize our systems for when we do hit an eventual increase again. We're looking at partnerships, ways of pooling, looking at alternatives. So this will be a big focus here over the next year. And then finally, the launch of our new websites. We had a pretty significant marketing effort last year with the marketing task force that resulted in a focus on establishing a new marketing website, as well as renovation to our My Rossmore website for residents to be able to better navigate and find the tools and services just for our residents. And those will be launching here early in 2026 as well. So there are a lot of initiatives going on. We look forward to a busy and productive 2026.
Any questions for Jeff? We have a full plate. Okay, thank you, Jeff. We'll move on to the member forum. Do you have any speakers?
Excuse me, yes, we have two speakers. The first speaker is Susan Manata.
Just a reminder of speakers, if you sign the form, if you could come up to the podium when called, you'll have 2 minutes to speak. Please state your full name and Rossmore address. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Susan Manata. I live at 2201 Pine Knoll Drive, Unit 2, Entry 3. My main concern today is the Rossmore bus system. I believe there is a budget proposal to purchase 2 vans and new dispatch software. My concern is that the emphasis on personal convenience, including door-to-door service and more spontaneous ride scheduling, moves the system toward more of a single passenger service rather than public transit. I end with a quote from an article in my summer-fall 2025 issue of Biodynamics magazine. Our society's addictions to convenience, power, efficiency, comfort, and excess have led us into the crises we face today. Thank you.
Our second speaker is Lori Dans.
Hi, I'm Lori Davis, and I appreciate everything we've seen today. As a realtor and a member of the tennis club, I so appreciate the safety and the insurance, and just want to talk about how we are here again to ask for courts 7 and 8 to be resurfaced. We asked for this a while back, and they were built in 2014.
What is your home address?
I'm sorry, 2000 Oakmont Way, sorry. So I live here and I sell real estate here and member of the tennis team. And we were here one time talking again about having the courts resurfaced because they were built in 2014. So that's 12 years ago. They've never been resurfaced, even though the guidelines are for courts to be resurfaced every 6 to 7 years. The courts have been on a list for resurfacing every year since 2023, but not made the cutoff for the funds to be allocated. The Planning Committee has given the resurfacing of courts 7 and 8 a priority score that should result in the $30,000 in the budget to be allocated this year. Unfortunately, the courts are deteriorating quickly, and now that the underlying asphalt has been exposed, we are kind of in danger when playing. Waiting another year to resurface will result in unplayable courts very soon, which will add more expense to restore the courts to a playable condition. Courts are used by the over 200 club members and also many Rossmore residents that come with their families. During prime time, we need all 8 courts, so that means some play at their own risk on the courts that have the cracks, and some have to leave because all courts are taken. So in closing, as one of the tennis club members and also a realtor here in Rossmore, I take great pride in living in Rossmore and its beautiful surroundings. One of the great selling points is our tennis courts. People come from all over the United States to see our tennis courts. They've played all over. And when I take them up to the tennis courts, sometimes I
am sorry,
don't.
that is time.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we apologize for being late. We thought the meeting was over in the other boardroom. So we're sorry. But thank you. And please consider.
As for Zoom, there are no speakers over Zoom, so that concludes the member forum.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the resident member committee reports, starting with Aquatics and Fitness, Barry Devine. He is the chair of the Aquatics and Fitness Committee. Welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I'll alert you that there were no crises to be addressed in this recent meeting that I'm reporting on, but it was our first meeting for this calendar year, and all members were present on January 8th. Since this was a new year, we were talked about the possibility of considering what services and/or programs we could be offering our fellow residents to better address their needs and interests. The Aquatics and Fitness Manager updated the committee on issues such as the return of core strength classes, plus the addition of some new mat yoga classes, and the introduction of restorative yoga classes, also focusing on relaxation, stress relief, and the healing process. On the aquatics front, during the Tice Creek Pool replastering project, the aquatic staff successfully maintained outdoor operations, ensuring the continuity of our services to swimmers. The project was completed ahead of schedule, and pool operations resumed on November 26, 2025. Outdoor pools closed seasonally on December 1st last year, and are scheduled to reopen on March 1st of this year. The activity showed at the center that 316 new fitness center users registered since our previous meeting 2 months before. The issue of class scheduling and providing avenues to register for classes was discussed extensively. We were informed that possibility of a different computer program might be considered and is being considered and might solve some other problems with reservations. Parking concerns were raised briefly, and members were alerted that the availability of some popular classes is being scheduled later in the day to spread out the demands for parking spaces. It was agreed that committee members should feel free to appeal to staff or report to staff anytime there was an issue, particularly if it was an issue which was safety related. And finally, Mary Lou Thompson, who's been leading the program to acknowledge Rossmore fitness journeys as a motivation to other residents, continues to encourage nominations and reports 3 new nominees. If there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions for Barry?
And let me say that any members of the committee who would like to know more about the aquatics and fitness mechanisms and how they work should contact me. I'd be very happy to spend some time with them.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Barry. Next, we'll go on to the audit committee. Sefton Boyer, if you give us that report. Sefton doesn't look like he's here. Okay. Going on to finance, Dan Ring, chair of the finance committee.
I have a question on the audit committee.
I'm sorry?
May I ask a question?
You may, yes.
So at our last meeting, we were curious about the status of the mutual audit reports. And in reading the audit committee report, I didn't see the status addressed. I'd like to see a list of each mutual's status on those reports that were due April 30th of last year. Can we see that by next meeting?
There was one at the meeting. There was one at the audit committee meeting, so maybe you just didn't get it.
It was not in that report. No.
It's not in here.
Yes, I'll go ahead and update that, Dwight, and get it out. I'll get it out tomorrow, so you can have it.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Welcome, Dan.
Hello. The finance committee, we met Tuesday. As previously stated, the December financial statements of RWC and RPM were not available for review. We were given an overview of the proposed changes to the financial, administrative, and operational side in order to remove bottlenecks, increase efficiency, and define career paths. The Finance Committee supports these changes and hope they work. MTS were discussed. We ended 2025 with 378 units that paid the fee compared to a budget of 400 units. Total MTF revenue for 2025 was $5.2 million, slightly above 2024 revenue of $5.1 million. We also received the same update from Mr. Ken Johnson of Gallagher on the insurance. We were presented the capital fund cash flow and MTF worksheet outlining a 10-year capital spending plan. After the discussion, a motion was made and seconded to recommend acceptance of the proposed capital project spending plan, including the capital machinery and equipment budget and the RWC facility and property management budget, with the acknowledgement that sufficient funds are available, and with the revenue model reviews to assume 375 unit sales instead of 400 that's on the original budget. The motion passed unanimously. The committee acknowledged that projects may be deferred if needed if the cash reserve falls below the minimum. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for, Dan?
Jeff, did you want to address it?
Yeah, I was just going to make one note that when staff presented the funding worksheet model to the Finance Committee on the MTF report, we included from the wrong column there, the total number of sales reported at 378. Actually, 387 was the total for 2025. So that has been updated, and when we do the presentation on the capital project report, we'll show you what that impact is.
So Dan, I assume that might have impacted the Finance Committee's look at the projection.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I think the 375 is based on the trend from the last couple of years. The trend is decreasing, but we can bring it up again in our next committee meeting. But I think the committee was pretty unanimous and very little discussion, and that the 375 was the right number.
So a follow-up question on the trend line, and I was very interested in what the Finance Committee looked at in terms of MTF collections. What would be even more interesting to add to that is a trend line on lessees, number of rental units, because we have seen a dramatic increase in the lessee amenity usage fee. And so as some people are hesitant perhaps to sell at this point in time, they're renting, and that may be just a temporary situation, but it would be interesting to see that trend line as well.
I'm assuming, Jeff, you can get that information?
We could work on providing that for finance for your next.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we'll invite the Golf Advisory Chair to come up and speak, Burke Ferrari.
Good morning. Good morning. The 4 golf clubs are in the process of renewing their memberships, so I will have an update on that next month. At the GAC meeting this month, we appointed Margot Dutton as Chief Marshal. There was further discussion on the pickleball construction project, and we were advised that work on the project, the water line alignment would commence soon, and it, sure enough, started the following Monday. We're hoping now that the portion of the project that will be finished around the middle of February, and we can then resume normal play on the 18th hole of the dollar course. But the big news at the meeting was Mark Heptig's coming retirement after 33 years. To put that in perspective, that's more than half of the time that Rossmore has been in existence. And make no mistake, golf today in Rossmore is thriving. And if one person is responsible for that, it's Mark. In closing, I just want to say I'm reminded of a statement on a plaque that I saw being awarded at a retirement ceremony, which stated, "The eternal gratitude of those who follow will be your legacy." Questions?
That's wonderful. Any questions for Burke? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the board committee reports. So the planning committee, Dwight, could you give us the report?
Yes. So the committee met this month and covered 2 very important items. The first was a list of 2026 capital projects and their priorities. The committee unanimously recommended forwarding the project list to the board for a first reading that will be addressed later in this meeting. Secondly, the committee heard a report on Rossmore transportation that is very important to this community. Staff will be reporting back in February as they work to ensure that transportation within Rossmore is effective and cost efficient.
Okay, any questions for Dwight? Okay. We'll move on to policy with Mary's report.
Thank you. The Policy Committee met January 12 to discuss RWC policies that affect how Rossmore clubs and their guests factor into facility usage, and as well whether a policy is needed to define when the American flags are to be lowered to half-staff on RWC grounds such as the gate entrance and at the Peacock Plaza. There are currently 5 policies to regulate how club membership and non-resident participation at club events here in Rossmore is managed. Currently, there is no policy regarding when the American flag is to be lowered, but there is a practice of lowering the flag when the U.S. President or the state governor orders their flags to be lowered. Ann Matola, RWC's Community Services Director, presented a broad overview of issues for the committee to discuss regarding the policies that exist on Rossmore clubs and their guests. The committee discussed how the attendance of guests at clubs affects how facilities are used, affecting the availability of these facilities. At some events, it was reported that the number of guests represented 50% of those attending, although clubs are required under current policy to limit the number of non-resident club members to 20%. The committee asked for data about attendance at club events to be available at the next meeting, which will be on February 9. With regard to considering a policy for the lowering of the American flags on RWC grounds, the committee determined to obtain and review designated lists of people for whom a flag is flown at half-mast. Matola said that RWC follows federal and state guidelines. The committee at the next meeting on February 9 will continue to discuss whether to create a policy, and if so, on what it should be based. Thank you.
So, quick question, Mary. It looks like it's going to take some time to do the guest policy, to formalize what the guest policy is, make the changes. Do you agree?
I agree, and the thing is, we want to start looking at current data to understand what is happening, how frequently it's happening, and the effect on room usage so that rooms can be made available for Rossmore residents.
Okay. Any questions for Mary? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the Community Services KPI Task Force. Susan, could you give us that report?
Certainly. The task force has had 3 meetings, and we are slated for 3 additional meetings, so there is much to do and not much time. We are a 5-member team with board members Adrian Byram, Janet Selden, myself, Alan Fitzgerald from the Golf Advisory Committee, Nancy Castile from the Finance Committee, also board member Dwight Walker is an ex officio member, and we have 2 fellows, Ife Ojo and Joyce Dallasay from the UC Berkeley Haas School Center for Social Sector Leadership. Just to remind everyone, our charge is to develop key performance indicators, KPIs, to measure the effectiveness and impact of community services, programs, and amenities. Although there are many services that Rossmore provides to residents, we're charged with focusing on community services. At our January meeting, we discussed the key components of KPIs. We had a deep dive into recreation, custodial, and transportation services and what is delivered at current budget levels. We know how much and what services we are providing with our current budget, yet we're not measuring the quality of those services. We decided to closely analyze room reservations and custodial services because they are very aligned. So we have a full agenda for our February 3rd meeting. We will consider information that staff has collected on room reservations and custodial processes. We'll also review a draft customer survey that we hope to launch soon so that results could be reviewed at our April meeting. We'll have a presentation from our Haas Fellows on a potential KPI framework, which is critical. We need to establish a framework if we want to develop KPIs that measure the value and effectiveness of a variety of services in Rossmore beyond the life of the task force. We'll also review some examples. Now, evaluating services is an important and challenging topic, and we're working as hard as we can on that. But I'd like to thank the task force members and staff, particularly Kelsey Klima, who are supporting these efforts, and anyone interested, attend our meeting on February 3rd at 1 p.m. in the boardroom or on Zoom.
Thank you. Any questions for Susan? All right, thanks very much, everyone. And we're going to move on to unfinished business, which is item 10. And we're going to do a review of policies 100, 101.1, and 104.5. And Jeff, did you want to?
Just real briefly, these are policies that are before you for a second reading. They have been through the policy committee and the board for our first reading. The policy 100 is really a policy that talks about how violations of any rule, procedure, or policy will be handled. Policy 101.1 is how we will conduct disciplinary hearings in the case that one is called for. And then policy 104.5 is our harassment policy, and this has been updated by our attorney and reviewed by the various committees. So these are all before you. Happy to go over any detail of any individual policy if there's any questions.
I hate to do this, but we've gone over this quite a few times. In policy 101.1, on the last paragraph, there's an indication that within 15 days after a decision is reached by the board, this is in regards to hearing, it says that a letter will be sent describing the disciplinary action that the board decided. But would a letter be sent regardless whether there was disciplinary action?
So a notification would be sent to the member, letting them know the outcome of the board's.
Either way.
Right.
Okay, then may I suggest just administratively to remove disciplinary action?
We could do that.
Anybody else have questions on 100 or 101.1? Okay, then on policy 104.5, which is in regards to harassment. On the second page, there's a list of behaviors that are prohibited. And the last bullet, which we added in the last go-around, has the phrase, which is strictly prohibited. And I think that just administratively also just could be eliminated because it's already in the list of strictly prohibited. That makes sense?
We could do that.
All right. Does anybody have any comments about 104.5? Okay. Any discussions, questions for Jeff? Do we have a motion? Ted?
I'd like to make a motion that policies 100, 101.1, and 104.5 be accepted as stated in the packet with the adjustments that was brought up today.
Is that wording okay, Deborah? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dwight will second. Thank you. And further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Hiram?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Yang.
No.
It carried.
Okay, and the second item, Jeff, do you want to?
So to go along with those previous revisions, item B has to do with all of our current rules that are in place for various amenities such as golf, fitness, aquatics, and so forth. All of those individual rules have a statement at the end of them that talks about what happens in case of violation of the adopted rules. We need to update those to replace that section with a standard section or standard wording that talks about violation of policies, procedures, or rules will be reviewed and acted upon consistent with policy 100, which you just adopted, which may be found on the My Rossmore website or upon request from the administrative office. So that way all of our rules then become consistent with the procedure that was adopted.
Okay, any questions for Jeff? All right, do we have a motion? Ed?
I make the motion that all facility rules such as golf fitness, fitness center, pools, reference policy 100 as amended related to the violation of rules as stated in the packet.
Okay. Mary Hurt seconds. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes?
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram? Hildreth?
Yes.
Lair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Yang.
No.
Motion carried.
Okay. Right now, I think it's a good time to take a break before we start new business, so we'll return at 10:09. Thank you. Okay, we'll resume with item 11B. Ann Matola, if you could give us over.
Super. So today is the first reading of the proposed capital projects program for 2026. I keep messing up my years, so you'll have to excuse me here. In today's presentation, within this, there are actually 3 different actions. So the first one is to approve the project priorities as listed, and that would be the first reading. And then part of the capital program, there's actually 3 elements. So there's the capital project priorities. We include machinery and equipment. And then new this year is the RWC facility and maintenance budget. And if you recall, that is a line item that was transferred from the operating budget into capital this year. So that's new. And for those, we are asking for approval. Both of those line items are really critical to ongoing operations, and typically we need to get ahead of purchasing and setting up services as soon as we can for kind of ongoing projects and purchases of equipment. One of the things I wanted to talk about, if you look at the sheet, it's really important that you see it's called a capital project priorities list. So we're not approving a budget today. Through committee, the projects, with the exception of one that I'll have Jeff talk about, everything has been reviewed by the planning committee and they assigned priorities. And what I'm going to try to do, and I apologize, I'm going to have to zoom through all of these. I can't go backwards, can I? Can you scroll through to the last page? Yeah. This thing works quicker. I do want to show you the capital projects prioritization tool that the planning committee used in order to take a look at every one of the projects and give them a rating. And it really helps as a guide on how to sort through what gets on this list, kind of the weighting them. So this is what was used. This is the tool that was used. And I'm sorry. Okay. So then if we look at the capital projects priorities list, what you'll see in the first column, or the second column, the first column is the list number. The second column shows the priorities. And then every once in a while, you're going to see a carryover. So carryovers are always priority 1. They have to be the highest priority because we're in the process of expending funds. We could be in the middle of construction. And typically, if you suspend, you're either going to have to spend that money again when you restart it, or you're pushing things off. So sequentially, you'll be further extending a project and increasing costs. So those are considered priority 1s, and those are things where work is continuing. In the example of the things that are happening there, there's a roof replacement program, and it's the skylight that's at the fitness center. So we've been looking on how to solve that problem. We've been really lucky. It hasn't leaked, but the barrier that's supposed to really kind of hold that skylight in place and keep it from leaking, it's deteriorating quickly. So we want to get a solution for that this year. And the pickleball courts is probably the biggest, most visible thing. If suddenly we said, let's save ourselves $4.5 million and put a hold on that, we know that's going to cost much more if we were to restart it. Okay. All right, so all that being said, the projects have been discussed individually at Planning Committee. I'd like a little direction from the board if you'd like me to go through each project, or if there are specific ones that you'd like me to pull up.
I would like people to ask questions about specific projects. Do you have any? This is the first reading of the projects, so you will have another opportunity.
Before we get into specific questions, I just wanted to note one change that is in the schedule before you that is different from what was the recommendation from the Planning Committee. At the Planning Committee, staff proposed the addition of some funding for transit specific that would cover the cost of the purchase of 2 vans as well as some software that totaled $200,000. Subsequently, there was some discussion in relation to taking a little bit of a step back within the planning for transit and doing a short-range transit plan. So what has been shifted in this proposal is that the plan includes funding for that transit plan, but does not at this time include the funding for the vans, as that priority may change once you conclude the transit study. So that was made. Certainly, we can revert back or make any other changes at the board's direction, or have further discussion at planning on that specific item as well.
Okay, Ted?
I just have one question, just clarification. On down on new requests, it says Stanley Dollar security fencing and camera. I at a loss at where that location is.
That is the one that is at the top of Stanley Dollar Drive, not at Stanley Dollar Clubhouse, and it is the proposed fence and camera for security.
Roy?
My understanding that camera is a property of PGE, not ours, right?
There is a portion of the fencing that would extend onto PG&E property, so we have been in contact with PG&E in regards to securing that location and the areas that extend off the sides of the roadway, so people can't just walk immediately around it. They are very supportive of the project as well.
Yeah, can I just make a...
So, Jeff, and maybe this is something that needs to be vetted at the planning committee rather than here, but didn't we authorize and do RFPs, try to get a microtransit study done 2 years ago, or a year ago, and now it's coming back in when there's an immediate need to resolve some weekend transportation issues?
There was funding in an effort. We distributed a request for proposals to planning agencies. We were not successful in getting proposals. So this would be kind of reinitiating that effort to boost the RFP a little bit and try and get some consultants on board to conduct that study. So we made the effort, distributed the RFP, didn't result in a successful proposal, so would be restarting that process.
Yeah, I just...
Janet and then Adrian.
Yeah, I just made a note about the security cameras at Stanley Dollar that Tom Cashon reported to us that there are break-ins happening from there and that crimes have been committed through that gate. So that's why we want to enhance the security there.
Okay, thank you. Adrian?
Yes, on the transportation, the last report we had on that was 2018. And many of the things that were projected or suggested in that report were not actually ever implemented. And then, of course, COVID came along and screwed everything up. And we're now in a period where autonomous vehicles are coming. 5 years from now, certainly 10 years from now, all the vehicles at Rossmore providing service will be EVs, probably 5 years. How do we move from where we are today to that point? How do we do so in a reasonable fashion we're going to spend $6 million from the coupon over the next 5 years on transportation. Doing so in a way that really helps the people that need it, is the appropriate service. We need to understand how to do that. We need to understand what people want, what they need. And so spending 1% what we're going to spend over the next 5 years on a proper study, to understand properly what's going on, I think is just the prudent thing.
I think in order to avoid further conversation on this, the planning committee will undertake a full vetting of this. I would suggest that we also at the planning committee think about including the vehicles as a shortstop solution as well. So we'll take that back to the planning committee.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, Mary?
Jeff, you said that the RFPs that went out prior were unsuccessful. We're submitting new RFPs, and that was several years ago. How were they changed?
So it was actually just last year that we undertook that effort. We'll have to update the RFP, look at different resources we may be able to tap in order to get proposals. Some of it was the scope of the project, so it just wasn't attractive enough to a lot of the companies. They do these on a regular basis for public agencies, so we need to make it a little more attractive proposals. But as Dwight mentioned, we'll take this back for full discussion.
Okay, Dwight.
So item 18, evaluation of Creekside pickleball courts. I just, and I made this clear at the planning committee, and I'll say it again here. We were operating under the assumption with brand new $5 million 6 courts at the event center that, at least I was operating under this assumption, that the Creekside pickleball courts would be decommissioned because we have not taken the appropriate steps there and viewed that site as unacceptable going forward. And to think in the description here that it will include the potential for continuing pickleball courts there, to me, is unacceptable.
Okay, any other comments? Is there a motion for the proposed machinery and equipment and the facilities and maintenance charges? Would somebody like to make a motion?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but I would move that we approve the funding for those specific line items.
Okay, is there a second? Mary?
I need the full language of the
Okay,
motion.
let me look back here.
While Susan is doing that, just to be clear, the planning committee had a list of machinery and equipment that included $200,000 for vehicles. That was recommended by the planning committee. To me, that should be included in this list that we're.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the right wording. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'll start something, and Dwight, if you want to amend it, that's okay. But I will move that the board approve the 2026 machinery and equipment budget and the 2026 RWC facility and property maintenance budget.
Okay, but do we need to add the addendum of the 200,000?
Would you agree to add an amendment saying to add $200,000 for transit vehicles as approved by the planning committee? The machinery and equipment.
So it was in there from planning. We removed it and added the transit study. So if you would like to put that back in, the $200,000 covers the purchase of 2 van type shuttles, in addition to funding for software, I believe was in there, at a total amount of $200,000.
Is that amount already included in the figures?
It is not. So it would be in addition to the $663,690.
Okay, so we do need that added to the motion.
Well, I'll just comment. I personally am in support of doing some further study in terms of the long-term plans. So on the one hand, I feel like that's, we're doing something and adding the $200,000 that we might have a different approach as the transit study if it goes forward. On the other hand, I do know that everything that we approve here is also subject to a number of other considerations and approvals as the year goes on. So because I am willing to add that to the motion, knowing that it will have further levels of approval for consideration.
Excellent explanation.
That's what I'm thinking, is that basically, even though it's added to the budget, the approval of the purchase is not a part of this motion.
It's a budget. Okay. With the addendum. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Deborah.
Okay, Hamaji,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Hildreth,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Selden,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you, Ann.
So with respect to the first reading on the rest of the list, are we okay with that? Any further consideration? Or
I didn't see any other questions, but if people have questions about the project list.
okay, we will bring that back for final reading then.
All right, we'll move on to item 11C regarding our contract with Carpet One. Jeff, you could go over.
So within that list of projects that you just approved, there was actually a capital item for the flooring within Creekside Clubhouse. This is an item that we brought to you in executive session for contract consideration because of timing for the work. So it is now on your open agenda for ratification. What this allowed us to do was to replace all of the flooring throughout the entirety, with the exception of the golf shop. The flooring in Creekside has been complete. The clubhouse is back open. If you haven't been over there, it looks really nice. So this is just to ratify that action that the board previously authorized.
Janet.
Yeah, I have a comment, which is a number of residents have brought up the issue of noise, and they were worried that a wood floor instead of carpeting would make it much noisier in the restaurant. However, if you read the article in the Rossmore News, there is something under the wood floor that will help with the noise reduction. So I just wanted to assure people that that was a consideration and that we hope that the noise will not be outrageous.
Okay, any other comments? Carol?
Sure. I move that we ratify the authorization for the GM to execute a contract with Carpet One for the replacement of flooring throughout Creekside Clubhouse, with the exception of the golf shop, in an amount not to exceed $85,000 to be paid from the RWC Capital Fund.
And Mary seconds it. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Deb.
Certainly. Hamaji,
Yes?
Bentley,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Hildreth,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Selden,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
and Yang. It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. And Jeff, if you could give us an overview of item 11D as far as the Golden Pair.
As I mentioned during my earlier report, one of the key initiatives this year is the opening of the Golden Pair, the new restaurant operator over at Creekside. This was a result of a very lengthy process that the board and the community undertook over the last couple of years. It started off with work with a food and beverage consultant called the Synergy Food Group. They did a extensive study with the planning committee and a subgroup looking at what the capacity and interest for food and beverage operations are within the valley. What could the valley support in terms of additional food and beverage operations. That study then culminated in a recommendation that we take on one food and beverage partner that can begin at one location, the Creekside Restaurant, and then expand over time in a partnership with RWC to provide additional services. Once it was determined that we should start at the existing restaurant and bar location, a request for proposals was developed and initiated. Again, working with Synergy Food Group, we solicited proposals from a number of different operators, different styles of operators, did a review of all of those proposals, conducted interviews with our consultants, reviewed history, reviewed financial strength, reviewed kind of their overall operation and understanding of the type of community that Rossmore is. And all of that culminated in a selection of Rodney Worth of the Peasant and the Pear LLC. They were selected really based on their reputation within Contra Costa County. They have 4 different restaurants that have been in operation. The food that is sourced, as well as just their vision for how they can operate the restaurant and act as a partner long term. A lease was negotiated based on terms that were outlined in the RFP. Some of the key components of the lease that has now been executed includes the fact that it is a 5-year term with an option for a 5-year renewal. The lease includes an allowance of up to $625,000 for approved tenant improvements over the first 18 months of operation. These are items that once approved and initiated, then become property of RWC. The base rent includes a formula for the cost of shared utilities at Creekside, as well as a per square foot cost for exclusive use areas for the restaurant and bar. It is a commercial rate lease. The restaurant must be open a minimum of 6 days per week. We have in place a LLC called Creekside Holdings that holds the ABC license. That has been restated, and now the new operator is a part of that LLC for operation of the liquor license. The term of the lease will begin once the operator is able to fully operate after the transition and the tenant improvements and securing of the actual liquor license and the health permits to operate. I can tell you they are in full swing. There's a lot going on over there, so it's pretty exciting to see the transformation. If there's any questions about the specific lease?
Adrian?
So you said the lease commences when operations start. So does that mean then the lease will terminate in roughly the end of February, 5 years from now?
That's correct.
And Jeff, a resident asked me, how often do you meet with the tenant to go over an update or make improvements later? How often? What's that relationship?
It's somewhat variable. I mean, we don't have a set meeting date or time per month, but as things are going right now, we're meeting daily almost. As things get into regular swing, there'll be more on an annual basis. As we look towards expansion or other opportunities, it would become more. So we don't have a set schedule, but it's fairly frequent throughout the year.
Jeff, the terminology partnering with and tenant and operator are used. Could you help me understand what those 3 different terminologies mean regarding the lease?
So we want a partner that can share the vision of food and beverage service and expansion to other locations. So work in partnership with RWC, especially as we look at our capital program. A tenant is really, this lease is a commercial rate lease. RWC is the property owner, and we are leasing the space exclusively to the tenant, so they run the operation. RWC is not involved daily or has say in how the food and beverage is operated within the restaurant. It's a commercial lease. And then you had tenant, operator. So the operator is really just who the food and beverage, the business is.
When we speak of operator, is that specific to this particular place that there'll be dining, or is it operating across all of Rossmore?
It is within, right now, within a specific location, but it may expand to other locations.
So in your crystal ball of forecasting, everybody wants to know when the golden pear will hatch.
The golden pear will hatch when it is ready. We really don't want to put out a specific date. There are a number of steps involved that also include agencies such as Contra Costa Department of Health that has to issue a permit. Those things, as we all know, can get delayed. So we are excited that there is aggressive work going on within the restaurant and the bar. So the transformation is actively happening. There aren't delays in the work taking place. We know that there's work on already the menu being developed, on the staffing that has been hired. So good progress on every kind of milestone, but we want to be careful just of launching a date so we don't miss an expectation. But spring.
Roy, you had a question?
I've been confused. The lease agreement, I read from Ted, for $30 per square feet. That's for a month or for a year?
So that is a monthly charge, and then added to that is the formula for the utilities, and it works out to, without getting into the specifics of the lease, the amount. It is very similar to what was previously in place on a month basis, what is budgeted, the 26 budget.
I still have a second question. I didn't ask the total amount of this lease agreement, because usually commercial has a total amount in case the tenant breaking the lease. They have a financial liability because we spend a lot of money to supporting him. So I would like to know when can we add a total lease agreement? I understand utilities, those are different things, can be separate. The total lease agreement should have a 5-year total amounts how much very clearly. In case he dropped out 1 year, 2 years later, he has to face the financial liabilities.
I understand that the van that will provide coffee service at the golf course has been ordered. Is there any timing as to when it will be on the ground and available to serve?
Trying to pin me down on these. It has been ordered. It is coming from, I believe it's Georgia, and then it has to be outfitted. The utilities for electrical and water is being run out to the site where it will be located. All of it is in the works, so we anticipate that will be pretty much in line with when the overall restaurant opens.
Okay, this was information only at this point, so does anybody else have any other questions? All right, thank you, Jeff. We'll move on to item 11E, and I'd like to welcome Penny Reed, manager of the counseling services, to give us her overview of that department.
Good morning. Thank you for giving me this time today. I'm excited to talk about my department and give a full picture of the services that we offer. We are a team of 4 with 3 clinicians and 1 administrative coordinator who keeps us on track with all of the different hats that we wear. As you know, I'm Penny Reed. I'm the manager of the counseling office. But I'll share a little bit about each of our backgrounds. So I graduated from San Francisco State University with my master's in social work, 2004. I received my clinical social worker license in 2009. I started at Rossmore in September of 2013 and was promoted to supervisor in 2017. My experience prior to Rossmore includes program management, program development, and provision of psychotherapy. Grace Liu is also a licensed clinical social worker in our office, and she joined our team in 2023. Grace worked as site director for the Alzheimer's Association, their East Bay site, and she was there for 10 years. She has extensive experience in the field of aging and dementia care. Lynn Welch is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she joined our team in early 2024. Lynn's early training and experience is in medical and Alzheimer's residential settings. She has completed advanced clinical training in couples counseling and also a certification in liberation eating disorders education. And we have Florence Clifton. She joined our team in 2020 as an administrative assistant. She has since taken on more responsibilities as an administrative coordinator. She has proven herself invaluable to the counseling team. She received her bachelor's in business economics from the University of the Philippines in 1995, and her work experience includes executive services in both home care and restaurant service. So Rossmore's mission statement, the mission statement of Rossmore Counseling Services is to assist Rossmore residents to achieve life satisfaction and maintain independence. Counseling assists residents in a number of different ways to help them achieve these goals. The 4 legs of our program are individual and joint counseling sessions, support groups, community education, and resource and referral. Resident information obtained by counseling services is protected by HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Protection Act. Counseling services are also voluntary for residents of Rossmore, and there are no fees for counseling services, including therapy sessions and attendance to events. Rossmore Counseling helps residents view their world differently, establish better habits, reach out to family and community, and heal emotional wounds. The number of sessions provided is determined by client, clinician, and the work being done. Linkage to long-term therapists are provided as appropriate. But the overall outline of our clinical services are brief individual therapy, couples and family therapy. And our sessions are solution-focused and time-limited. So what you can expect when contacting counseling to schedule a session. You will probably reach Florence, our administrative coordinator. Flo will assign a clinician to you, and then you'll be contacted by that clinician to schedule an appointment. Most appointments are set within 7 to 10 business days of that first call. So between you reaching out to get therapy and then actually being in the office is generally about a week to a week and a half, that whole process. Clinical sessions last about 50 minutes. The clinician helps clients tell their story and establish goals for therapy. Follow-up appointments are are made as needed. The clinician and the client agree to the next step in the therapeutic process together. Sometimes clients only need 1 or 2 sessions. Sometimes they are seen for a series of 6 to 8 sessions. So these are resident needs that we see most often. However, we see people for many types of psychosocial concerns. If it appears that the client will need more intensive treatment, the counselor will focus a session on stabilization and referrals to appropriate long-term care or long-term services. So even out of this list, I would say what we see the most of would be bereavement, relationship issues, lately lots of anxiety, caregiver stress, and loneliness, and probably a lot of questions about long-term planning. That is always a constant. So Rossmore Counseling are the second leg of our program, are the support groups, and we facilitate several groups. I'll read the list, but I'm going to go into a little bit of detail on each one. We have the autobiography group, bereavement support group, stress management, transition support group, caregiver support group, and savvy caregiver training. We hold our groups in the Ivy Room at Stanley Dollar Clubhouse. And in the last year, we've added 2 groups, which are the stress management and savvy caregiver training. So we have the autobiography group, and this is a 6-week group. This helps motivate residents to start the process of writing their memoirs. Writing topics and writing guides are provided, and participants are encouraged to share their writings within the group. Residents who complete this group often continue writing together after the facilitated sessions are finished. Our office provides additional writing guides to help them keep working together. Bereavement support group. This group, also 6 weeks, helps residents who are struggling after the loss of a loved one. The focus is on the idea that one is forever changed by their loss, and that getting over it is essentially a myth. Participants access encouragement from the facilitator and each other to begin thinking about what their life may look like in the future. This group is based on the work of Dr. Alan Wolfelt. This is a deep group, and the participants use this space to express feelings they may not feel they're able to share with family or friends. We have the transition support group. This group is for single women new to Rossmore. Moving to Rossmore as a single, divorced, or widowed woman is a unique experience that creates unexpected hardships. The focus is to establish connection among the women in the group based on shared experience and struggle. This group focuses on community, self-esteem, the grieving process, and harnessing motivation. Our caregiver support group, so these are a little different. They're ongoing every 2 weeks, and they are also drop-in, so no registration needed. And we have 2 of them because the need is so great. These groups are for residents caregiving for a loved one suffering from dementia. The facilitator provides education about dementia and encourages participants to share their experiences and lend support to one another. Caregivers in this group are coping with the effects of their loved ones' diagnoses of Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, or post-stroke dementia symptoms, or other idiopathic causes of dementia. Their process is unique and difficult. This group is an important step to acknowledging that they don't have to do everything on their own. And then we have Savvy Caregiver. This is a group we added about a year ago. And this program is a nationally recognized, evidence-based training program for family members caring for someone with dementia. The program teaches knowledge, skills, and strategies to help caregivers manage dementia care, reduce stress, and improve their confidence, while also emphasizing caregiver self-care. So Savvy Caregiver is a training it's a training class or a training group as opposed to a process-oriented group like the caregiver support. And the other new group we added last year is stress management support. This was sort of revamped from the one we offered during the pandemic. This is a 6-week group again, and stress management, this group incorporates cognitive behavioral therapy techniques and mindfulness practices to help participants manage stress and anxiety in healthy ways. The group also has modules focused on expressive art and healthy boundaries, setting healthy boundaries. In addition to the groups facilitated by our clinicians, the counseling department sponsors several peer-led groups in the community. These groups include Alcoholics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Al-Anon, Prostate Cancer Support, Hearing Loss Support Group, and Low Vision Support. In addition to these support groups, over the last year, counseling has also partnered with Pickleball for Parkinson's, as a support to help them do the important work that they've been doing for so many years. So we also provide support to Rossmore Walnut Creek staff. The staff know that they can contact our office. Well, I hope the staff know that they can contact our office when they have a concern about a resident. The counseling department provides training on coping with challenging people, dementia issues, and other topics as relevant. Sometimes these trainings are formal presentations, and other times it may be an impromptu phone call to lend support to staff who may be struggling with an individual who with cognitive or mental health needs. So information and referral services, that's the fourth leg of our program. And our clinicians are well-versed in resources available to residents in Contra Costa County. Part of every assessment we do is determining what community resources, including Rossmore and outside of Rossmore, which resource residents could access to increase their support and independence. Residents rely on the specialized guidance of our clinicians to help them access services to help them age in place. So this is a picture of all of the resources. In fact, we've added more. So we hold a massive amount of information in our office, and this is all there for residents to peruse, but most of the time, if we see someone hanging about, we obviously assist them and kind of help them find what they might be looking for. We tell residents to think of us as one-stop shopping. If we don't have the resource they need, we try to locate a service or organization in the area. Sometimes this means we get calls about what is the best cleaning service, or where do I find a notary. And that's fine. We're happy to help with that as long as they know what they have as health and safety issue in the future, they'll also be calling us for that. So we also carry a lot of long-term care planning tools in our office. We have a whole section of these. And residents can come and pick these up, and they can take them home, fill them out themselves. If they have questions, we are available to kind of walk them through. Probably the most important ones we have are the Advanced Healthcare Directive and the 5 wishes. Those essentially do the same thing. They determine who might make decisions for you in the event that you need that. We also have the POST form and lots of different things. But we also keep the Rossmore emergency contact sheets there as well to try and keep that updated in our system. Our staff work with residents and their families to help them age, as I said, age safely in place or move to a higher level of care, whichever is feeling most appropriate to them and the family. When residents are unable to travel to our office, we can provide services in their home. This is actually preferred when meeting with the family or providing health and safety assessments, because then we get to see the person in their environment, and that gives us so much more information. These are some of the agencies we work with. The counseling office maintains close relationships with community organizations to serve residents at the highest level. So we work very closely with Adult Protective Services, Jewish Family and Community Services, Meals on Wheels, and particularly Rossmore Fund, which I'll go into more in a minute. Okay, so Rossmore Counseling Services has a special relationship with the Rossmore Fund. Initially, the counseling office helped residents complete and submit grant applications for simple financial needs, such as dental work, hearing aids, or vision needs. Our collaboration has evolved over the years, and counseling currently provides assessment and referral for their respite program. This program allows family caregivers of a lower income to access respite through in-home care services funded by the Rossmore Fund. And that is where Jewish Family and Community Services come in. They also liaise with the home care agents. Our office also provides Safeway gift cards purchased by the Rossmore Fund to residents in a food crisis. The fund has also added yearly deep house cleaning and simple home improvement tasks, things like setting up grab bars or simple fixes in the home if residents have difficulty affording that. Okay, so residents often call to express concern for a neighbor. Once we receive this call, one of the clinicians will reach out to the resident in question and offer assistance. If they accept, we try to schedule a home visit to better assess their full scope of needs. If the resident refuses, then that is sometimes the end of the case because our services are voluntary. If the safety concern is severe enough, we may be mandated to report that concern to Adult Protective Services, regardless of the resident's consent to our services. Okay, clinicians also work with mutual directors who have concerns about their mutual members. The counseling office does not mediate mutual regulations or issues, but if the mutual director has a health and safety concern, they just notice something is odd, they'll often give us a call and we'll try and reach out and help the resident get some resources and see what we can do. Sometimes this might look like mediation if there's a neighbor-to-neighbor issue. Mediation services are voluntary and can be healing when two neighbors come to an impasse. Mediation works best when the two parties used to be friendly with each other. For mediations that need more legal expertise, residents are referred to the Center for Human Development, which offers sliding scale fees. One thing that we are not able to get into is we never mediate between the mutual and the resident. But resident to resident is kind of where we are. Okay, so the next section of this presentation focuses on statistics. We have created several charts that I hope can give a picture of the level of usage for each type of service that we offer. This chart shows the number of individual and couple sessions we provided per month for the year of 2025 for a total of 921 sessions for the year. This chart shows the number of sessions provided per year. See, 2025 is that 921 I mentioned, but with a comparison to the last 5 years. 2022 shows the lowest number, which corresponds with staffing transitions, where we were missing a clinician throughout the year and had some subsequent training needs. Since that time, we have consistently increased our average number of sessions provided. Focusing on support groups again, this chart shows the number of group sessions residents attended for the year of 2025, for a total of 765 group sessions. And again, we have that 5-year chart. The counseling office provided more 6-week groups this last year, which is reflected in the attendance numbers going up. We have also had an increase in the attendance to caregiver support groups over the last year. Okay, and this is total number of residents helped with our information and referral service. So this shows how many residents counseling staff assist with resources. We serve folks this way via emails, phone calls, and walk-ins, which are represented in this graph. These interactions are generally focused on resources to help residents safely age in place for longer. As you can see, summer and the start of the holiday season are typically a little bit slower, but January and February always boost up again as we get lots of calls from family members who have visited their parents over the holidays and think, oh my goodness, they need more help. And so they find us and they call us. And so this is that 5-year chart comparison. The numbers are quite high and continue to rise. I expect this means that more residents are becoming aware of our services and calling us multiple times throughout the year whenever they have a question about services for older adults. Okay, so the last part of counseling's programs I want to share is about the events we coordinate. We hold 8 to 10 events every year. These events complement the services we provide by allowing us to get out our health and safety information en masse. The events also serve as a little bit of internal marketing for our services to remind people that we're here and this is available to them. We start the year off with the Optimum Wellness Lecture Series. This consists of 5 to 7 lectures every year given by experts in the community. We select speakers who can cover a breadth of topics relevant to our residents. These often focus, again, on health and wellness. Recently, we have tried to answer to the fast shifting landscape of benefits and have invited more speakers focused on benefits and financial wellness than we ever have before. So this was our lineup for 2025. Aging in Place is a standard presentation that is offered every year, and it remains one of our most popular. But we covered financial scams, we do that quite frequently, nutrition and aging, the Medi-Cal benefits and eligibility, and that was really focused on Medi-Cal for long-term placement. How do people access that? Parkinson's disease overview and positive aging. And this is, so far, our lineup for 2026. And we try to balance our encore presentations with new speakers. So new to us this year will be the stroke awareness presentation. And then we're also doing maximizing your Social Security benefit and a review of fall prevention techniques. So our newest event is the Volunteer Fair. This was added in 2024. And this was created as we often had residents contacting us to ask how and where they can volunteer. It can be a lot of work to research whether an agency needs volunteers and when they need them, what their requirements are for training. This program allows those interested in volunteering to evaluate those opportunities in one day in the same place. The popularity of this event highlights the uniqueness and the heart of the Rossmore community. We also have the annual Dementia Caregivers Conference. Each year, more of us become caregivers for our loved ones. This conference strives to provide updated information on dementia diagnoses and treatments. It also gives caregivers information on the available respite resources, education on how to take care of themselves while caring for another, and also how to take care of themselves, and that, again, not having to do this all by themselves. This is a very well-attended event with an attendance of over 100 people every year. And finally, we have the Rossmore Health Fair. This has been running for over a decade. This program highlights community services in Contra Costa County and invites residents to learn about all of the services available to them from nonprofit organizations. During this event, residents are invited to interact with vendors and collect information. Also provided are health assessments such as glucose level checks and blood pressure checks. And we've also added vaccinations for flu, RSV, and COVID.
Wow.
And those are provided by CareLink Pharmacy. We have a partnership with them for this event. And we also provide breakfast and lunch, which is very important. Okay, so this last chart shows the attendance to the events counseling coordinates throughout the year. The larger events are in blue, such as the volunteer fair and the health fair. The orange lines show attendance to our individual optimum wellness lectures. And then that last line, we wanted to count, we also coordinate the safe driver classes from AARP. So that's the attendance for those classes for the year. Okay, so since I started at Rossmore, what I've been most touched by is the kindness and appreciation of the residents. Over the years, I've received dozens of thank you cards and a couple of nods in the Rossmore News by residents. As a social worker, it is rare to experience this. Rossmore is unique in that most of the residents here are so grateful to live here and feel cared for. The counseling office works with all of residents' service departments to contribute to that sense of safety, and it's our honor to keep doing that. So I want to thank you again for your time, and I can take any questions you might have.
On you. That was a wonderful presentation. Your staff, I can't believe how much you do with 4 people. Really, it's so impressive. And obviously people know about you.
Yes.
But it's really great for you to present this to the board. Can you please send us your presentation by email? So especially for all those specific organizations.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
Any other questions? I just want to, Adrian.
Yes, I would like to second what Janet said about how important we do. One of the things that struck me was that it takes 7 to 10 days to get an appointment. If you're in an emergency situation, what happens?
There's generally some leeway. It's difficult though because we are pretty booked within our day. Because we're not just seeing clients, we're also coordinating events and support groups and things like that. Sometimes we're up at Family Dollar. So, but if there is an emergency, we do everything we can to get them in within 1 to 3 days. Depending on the type of emergency, if it's a real crisis, it might need emergency services. And so we'll talk with them and refer them to something more immediate that, might be the crisis center or the friendship line, something else.
Is there an area you feel that, that we're not providing enough service? That there could be something significant that we could do more to help ourselves, essentially?
The loneliness is the head scratcher, right? I don't have the answer for what we need to do for that. It's really challenging. There's a lot of loneliness here in Rossmore. And, I've studied it, and, there's some theories that say loneliness begets loneliness. So you kind of get stuck in a cycle. So once you've hit that, it's hard to even motivate to get out. So that's why we do all these events, and we try and have as big a presence as we can, so that if someone does wander in and that's an issue, we sit down with them, we go over all the social stuff. It's not even like full therapy, but we go over all the clubs, say, what about this? And we set goals for them to try different things. But yeah, loneliness is the toughest one. Yes.
Susan, and then Dwight, and then Jan.
Wonderful presentation. Just you're doing wonderful work here. I was surprised that you might see clients for 6 to 8 visits, and I'm just wondering. And I don't expect any specifics. Do most of your clients have some kind of health coverage so that they could go further and have further visits with through their healthcare provider?
Yes, most do. Most mental health programs are impacted. And we are sort of the last of the in-person providers. Everything else, you're going to see your therapist on Zoom. And we know how that can be unattractive to many of our folks here. So they like to come to us because they can come to an office and sit down. But yeah, if we get to session 5 or 6 and it's not wrapping up, then we start talking about long-term referrals. So for someone with non-Kaiser Medicare, we have a list of therapists that they can contact. I'll be honest, less and less our private therapists are taking Medicare because it's difficult to be on those insurance panels. They want a lot from the therapist. And then for folks who are not regular Medicare and might be Kaiser, excuse my terminology, Kaiser's doing better, but there are a lot of hoops to jump through to get to a therapist at Kaiser. So so we work with them on that, and we support them in that process while they're getting to the therapist.
Okay, thank you. And I'm a Kaiser patient, so there we go.
So, Penny, we talk about how wonderful all of our amenities are here in Rossmore. And yes, golf is wonderful, but you can get that just about anywhere. Golden Pear is going to be magnificent, but you can go outside the walls and get that as well. You provide an outstanding amenity to our residents, and I want to thank you on behalf of everybody here. This is I think my 3rd presentation that I've seen from you. And I'm always surprised at things that are there that I didn't know that you offered. So thank you very much for doing that. And I hope everybody watching on TV knows that they can call you to get help.
Yes.
Thank you.
I can't remember if in one of the slides you mentioned the Companions Club here, and if you work with them, because I know there's maybe a couple groups that are considered maybe clubs or that do provide, especially the loneliness thing,
right.
I don't know, visits and reading with somebody or different things like that?
Yeah. We don't officially partner with them, but we refer to them all the time. They're great because as opposed to formal in-home care, this is something where someone's coming into your home and they're kind of the same age as you. They're not a 20-year-old, right? Also, they'll come in for an hour. You don't have that 4-hour minimum. And there's just a lot of unique things that they do. So we refer to them. We keep their list in our office. I often give presentations to them, or my clinicians do as well. So that's our relationship.
I think of counseling as this giant clearinghouse of information. Not only do you do one-on-one work, which is so valuable, but you have sources to point people to, and that I've seen so many residents here, a handful of residents here who have used you for that for a particular service, and it's been stellar. You know, from just seeing a practitioner to finding an independent/assisted living facility. And so I want to thank you for that. And thank you for maintaining those contacts. Very important. My second question is, you mentioned vaccines at the health fair. Can anybody go and have a vaccine there?
Thank you for that question, and I did not put that in the presentation. It is non-Kaiser folks only, because CareLink cannot bill for Kaiser for the vaccinations, and I have called pretty high up in Kaiser, as I'm sure we've been trying to get them to come back to Rossmore. They will not do it.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very, very much. We
Thank
just
you.
greatly appreciate your service. Okay, we'll move on to item 11F. Deborah, if you could give us an overview of the calendar of events.
Absolutely. So in January of each year, the board approves a proposed calendar of events for the RWC annual meeting of members held in May. The calendar includes such information as the dates that announcements regarding the election of district directors will be published in the Rossmore News. The date nominating petitions will be available for interested candidates, and the deadline date for returning them, along with candidate statements. The date candidate statements and ballots will be mailed to district members. The deadline date for receipt of ballots, the date of the election inspection company report, the ballot count, and the date of the actual annual meeting. So I am here before the board to ask that you approve the calendar of events for the 62nd annual meeting of members.
Janet?
Yeah, I will make the motion, but first I wanted to make sure, I know Ann is going to put all this information in the newspaper.
Correct. I work
ASAP,
with,
right?
Yes, I work with Ann Peterson. I write all the news articles.
Yes.
As listed as part of our bylaws and our procedures for election.
And I was surprised to see that already the petition to gather signatures starts February 11th. So
correct.
Those board members who are being asked, what's it like to be on the board? Do I want to try this? Know that they're going to start collecting signatures. So I move that the board approves the calendar of events for the upcoming 62nd annual meeting of members.
Anybody? Mary seconds. Any discussion? Questions for Deborah? All right, roll call, please, Deborah.
Certainly. Hamaji?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Hurt?
Yes.
Byram? Yes. Hildreth?
Yes.
Blair?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
And Yang. It's unanimous.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Announcements. There will not be a mid-month regular meeting of the board in February, and the end-of-month regular meeting of the board will be held on Thursday, February 26th, here at 9 a.m. Right now, we will recess to executive session.